Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Liu. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. I am joined in the first segment by Sportsnet's Amy Otterberg. Amy, how you doing?
Hey, Will. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Obviously, that was just a relaxing win last night. Raptors taking care of a beat-up Celtics team. And I'm feeling good because, they're moving up the standings. There's no stress at all from yesterday's game. How did you experience yesterday's game?
Stop it. You're kidding, right? When you said relaxing. Okay. I wasn't sure because, you did say, a couple truthful things there. Listen, as fans, it was entertaining, right? They're all going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go into every single game as a coach, a player, a fan, whatever you're doing. You have to go into every single game at this point expecting a dogfight. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, 1-0 is always the goal every day, right? You got a game day, you want to go 1-0 that day, and the Raptors did it. And it doesn't matter who was playing or who was not playing, in my opinion. These games weigh too much right now to even have those conversations. They won the game. But certainly Boston's a team that I don't think anyone really wants to see in a first round of playoffs because of how good they are when they're fully loaded, but also what they can do when they are not fully loaded. And that was very evident last night as well.
Yeah, there's a clear reason why this team was 23-4 heading into that game, looking to go 24-4. And again, as you mentioned, no Jason Tatum, no Jaylen Brown, no Al Horford, Robin Williams got hurt. Like, that's 4 starters out. And then they still pushed the Raptors to the brink. The Raptors ultimately win by a score of 115-112 over the Celtics in overtime at Scotiabank Arena. Let's start with the positives. And obviously the number one positive from this game was just Pascal Siakam. 40 points, 13 rebounds, clutch scoring at the end of regulation, at the end of overtime, clutch defense, right? Did you have a favorite play from Pascal last night, because he made so many for the Raptors? Look, I don't want to overstate it, but I think it's the only way to describe what happened yesterday was Pascal carried the Raptors. So was there a favorite play from you?
Yeah, you know what? So let me just say, watching him, especially, I'd say January on, has been incredible for everybody. So I'm so happy for him because we all know it hasn't been easy. But yeah, so I'm gonna bunch them together, right? I think it was overtime. It must have been overtime. It wasn't late. When he took Daniel Tice right inside, got him inside, and then I think was it the next play or a couple later with the mid-range pull-up. I just think that's where he is right now. He could score on everyone from anywhere on the court, and I think you know what I'm talking about, the free throw line pull-up jumper.
Yep.
Was it a little bit past that? I think that was, it was probably one of the biggest shots of the game, but when they're tight, they're all big shots. But I don't know. It was just this like reassurance of just how efficient and dominating he has been and consistent he's been from everywhere on the court. But again, yeah, I think that was a big one. And listen, like, let's not beat around the bush here. I'm not someone who tends to say a wide open, uncontested pull up 15-footer is my favorite shot of the game. Like, I like the ones you gotta like take some hits inside for. But
there were hits inside.
Yeah,
there were lots of hits inside last night.
There were some of those, right? Yeah. So and not necessarily too many other wide open free throw line attempts.
Yeah.
But the one in game was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think the one you're talking about is overtime, puts the Raptors up 3, and I think it actually put the Raptors up 113-110. So I think that was actually a game-winning basket when you look back at it, because the Celtics finished was 112. This was right before he fouled out too. And I think the most impressive part for me was, if you watch that play back, I think he was getting guarded by Tice. The way Tice was backpedaling, he was basically doing the running man challenge, because he was just so afraid of Pascal driving into him, through him, spinning through him, and finishing. And that's why it was uncontested, because he was just backing up. And I thought Pascal he made the right read there, and he made all the right reads yesterday. To you, when you're watching Pascal right now, is there something that's standing out to you about his approach? Because as Thad Young said after the game yesterday, Pascal's going to a whole nother level right now. And we're seeing it with him scoring 40. So is there something that's standing out to you?
Yeah, it's the confidence. When he has the ball in his hand, and I asked him this, I think after the Clippers game, it's just, when he catches the ball now, I think he understands that, and to your point exactly about Tice, he has an advantage on every single defender that's going to step up and try to stop him because he's got length, he's got speed, he's got strength, he can shoot. So he's got his wonderful spin move, of course, inside. So he's either going to try to take you off the bounce, and if you give him room, he can shoot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been the biggest thing. It's when he catches the ball, the first thing is, okay, how can I score? And that's what, in a game like last night, you mentioned the 40 and 13 and 1 assist last night. Yeah. Pascal, I think, understood, hey, you know what, this is on me tonight a bit more. Some of the other guys still coming back, and just that accountability. And, again, not easy, not something that's come to him easy. He's worked incredibly hard for these moments and these touches, and it hasn't always went his way, right? And, let's be real here. Let's be realistic. There are going to be some games that he's not going to be the greatest player on the court because you play 82 a year. It's just not realistic. But I think right now, every time he catches the ball, that's the biggest thing, is there's just, not even just talking about wanting to obviously be the guy or wanting to be the leader. You can say it all you want. He's doing it, and in my opinion, it is an all-NBA season for him. Mm-hmm. I think he still should have been playing in Cleveland in the All-Star game, right? But he's just came back. I know it was a rocky first couple for everybody, but hasn't looked back since then.
Yeah, he's been awesome. I think this is yet another sort of standout performance from him. And again, I think the Raptors needed all 40 from him. They needed all the 13 rebounds. They needed all the 3 steals and 2 blocks. You needed him to do everything last night. And I think that's the special skill that he has. But I think, for me, it's really interesting watching him operate and attack, because obviously defenses are always loading up on him, and he's seeing every style of defense there is and every type of defender, small, big, medium, whatever, right? But it's Pascal's right now, he has this really good ability to know when to go quick and when to go slow. And I think the timing of everything that he's doing is very deliberate. There's less of a sense where I feel like I know what move he's going to make ahead of time. I think maybe even earlier seasons he had some go-to moves, and defenses always play him in certain ways, and so he can always usually counter that and just sort of go ahead and do that. But right now you're seeing an approach where he's changing his move and he's adapting to whatever the scenario and the defense is giving him. And it's been awesome to see. I know, look, I'm sure the Celtics would have guarded Pascal better last night had they had, Tatum, Brown, and then, of course, they had, Williams being able to challenge shots. Of course, right? But at the same time, they were throwing 2-3 defenders at him. They were changing the coverages. You saw Smart on him. You saw Nesmith on him, Tice, Williams. And it was – they tried, but he just got everything he wanted to. And I think my question to you, and maybe this is something that speaks more to, I guess, just the anxiety of Raptor fans who still feel a little bit of lingering doubt just because of the bubble. Do you feel like this version of Pascal can carry over into the playoffs?
Of course I can. And I don't have time for that lingering of the bubble. What was that, 2 years ago now? Come on.
Yeah.
What
very unique circumstances too, by the way. We'll just forget this. Yeah.
I think it's crazy to me. What more does the guy have to do? It's 13 of his last 14 games, 20-plus points. That's a lot of games.
It's a lot of points.
His numbers. I'm sure a lot of. By the way, Raptors fans are the best. They got on that. There was a Boston reporter that was not so kind, and I was last night, kind of don't do it, man, don't do it. Everybody got on it, but I'm sure fans out there know Pascal's numbers this season. His averages 22, 8, and 5. He's one of 7 players to have those numbers in the NBA right now, and it's Giannis, LeBron, Nikola, DeJounte Murray, and Julius Randle. I think I'm missing one, but those are all high level, for the most part, all-star elite players. Averages aren't a 1 or 2 or even a 14 game. So that's your season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, that's just a regular night for him.
Yeah. For whatever reason, there is a small population of people which is getting smaller and getting smaller, but still like to doubt him. And again, is it gonna surprise you if Pascal shows up one night and doesn't have those numbers? No, this is the NBA. It's not right. You get what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying I'm expecting him to show up and flop one night. But when you don't have it, you don't have it. Now, we have been very lucky that if we work for, we root for, we are fans or whatever of the organization, that he has been this consistent all season. But for people that want to say, well, he wasn't good in the bubble, like, okay, how much longer are we going to entertain that conversation? I don't know. You know me well. You know I'm just trying to always look forward and look to the future and not look at something 2 years ago where, again, we talk about his accountability, and Pascal he'll be the first to tell you I wasn't at my best self during that time.
Yeah.
Like most of the people around the world, right? We just don't all play in the NBA on national television. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, I almost regret bringing this up because personally, I'm not worried about it. I'm just asking on behalf of, I guess, a more neurotic segment of the fan base, which I guess I belong to as well, but not in this specific instance. And look, listen, I mean, the bubble thing's been talked to death, but it's he couldn't go to a gym like all the other American players. I'll just say that much. And there was not much for him to do, and the situation was not ideal. Doesn't mean he couldn't have performed better. He definitely needed to, but I was happy for Pascal, and I'm especially happy that he got the 40 against the Celtics, obviously, who, that bubble series was against. Another guy who I thought really stood out to me was Thad Young, who played the entire fourth quarter and the entire overtime period. Got clotheslined at one point, which we'll get to that in a second. But, just Thad Young. Can you explain the importance of Thad Young and why it was so important to bring him in, a veteran like that who can keep his head cool in a very, very tough and frustrating game?
First of all, I think it's incredible for him, right? He said yesterday, I'm not old. I'm only 33 years old, and he's right because I'm close to him. I got a couple years, but I'm close. I appreciated that he said that. But this is a guy that was not the rotation for San Antonio this season, right?
He was sitting at home. They told him to go home.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, not even in the rotate, like, not even there sometimes. And he's not old, but at his age, like that I can't. And the position he plays and the type of body he is, that can't have been easy. That could not have been easy. To now, he played 27 and a half minutes last night, and again, like you mentioned, tight basketball, physical basketball. So we knew when the trade deadline came up, Bobby was very forthcoming about saying we just want to compliment right now. We don't want to shake anything up too much. I mean, they found a guy that was a great voice. Like you go do any research, you don't find anyone saying too many bad. I couldn't find one thing about Thad that was not positive. Yeah. Everyone's just reaming about him as a character and as a person. You look at his stats in his career. Do you know he's played a season in Philadelphia? He played 82 games. He averaged like 22 or 23 minutes and played 82. He played every single game. Like, that says something about a guy, right?
That doesn't even happen anymore. I don't know a single player in the league that's played 82, that's going to be on course to play 82 this year.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of on the court, it's interesting. He recently spoke about when he got to Toronto, and I think we often forget this, he's usually used to playing one or two different positions and learning the 4 or 5, maybe a little bit of a stretch 4. Basically, had to learn 5 positions because everyone's got the green light at times to push the brake, right? Like, there's so much going on with this. It's a complex Toronto Raptors system. And so all this stuff is pretty incredible when you think about what he was able to do. But I go to last night, and we don't realize, obviously, all the intricacies of an offense or a defensive system. But he does a lot of I'm not going to say easy because they're not easy, but simple things, right? Just setting a really good ball screen or just spacing to the right position or rotating on the perimeter, right? So he gets his 3-point looks. But I thought at the end of the day, he was such a beast around the boards last night. And I thought that was just 8 rebounds. And, I mean, those were tough. Those were tough, all earned. So I just, once again, Bobby and Masai, okay, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they definitely do. Again, look, at the time of the trade deadline, when the trade happened, I was more like, well, you had a lot of forwards and you add another one in. So we'll see how the fit is, I think, But at the same time, you definitely went from a guy who wasn't playing, who on the reaction show yesterday, I think I called him a Heat assistant coach, a Miami Heat assistant coach, because he was at their practice facilities. He was at their games but not playing. That sounds like a coach to me. But, you trade that into a guy who can actually come in and contribute for you, get into the rotation. And I think in these tough games where you don't know what to expect, not a lot of things went according to plan last night, okay? Let's just be real. But a lot of these late clock scenarios, you saw Thad be able to make the right play, whether that's taking the open three and he hit 2 threes down the stretch there, whether that's him making a play late shot clock driving against the closeout and going in for his little flip shot, whether that's the defensive effort to keep guys in front when the Raptors are switching a lot of those and trying to contain the Celtics dribble penetration, which was obviously the key to what they were doing. Thad was there to do all of that, and plus all the in between stuff, the blocks. Right, he had 2 blocks in the fourth quarter and overtime. The rebounds, and he was awesome. I was just really enjoyed seeing him play last night. Nick Nurse said that's his best game, and I think there's been a lot of talk about Thad Young and his leadership and his impact on the players. I mean, that's really important. Like, you can't overstate that. At the same time, the Raptors didn't bring him in for coaching. They brought him into play as well, and we saw the ability of that yesterday, and it was great to see. The Raptors do not win that game without him yesterday. I think, part of the reason why the Raptors struggled was Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. were both gutting it out. It felt like they couldn't really generate too much from the perimeter. The Celtics do have really good perimeter defenders still, but how do you feel like the Raptors can weather that type of performance from these guys in the playoffs if there's obviously physically limited?
The short answer would be no, right? So
yeah,
they gotta, no, okay. Not.
I agree.
Not in a 7-game series. If both guys are a little bit banged up, I would say this though, and I don't want to speak. I can't speak for him. I'm not him, obviously, not even close. I think Fred VanVleet would have a very hard time going anything less than 100% in a playoff situation. And I'm not saying he's not doing that now, but I think that when Pascal's playing the way he is, right, and when other guys are stepping up and contributing big, it takes a lot of pressure off Fred. I think it does anyways on the court, right? And I mean, don't get me wrong, end of regulation, the Raptors got an overtime because Mr. Big Shot stepped up and hit his big shots.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? We don't know, but I think we all have a good idea of Fred from the shoulders up and his compete level. And I don't know. I even Nick Nurse has kind of yesterday alluded to definitely having to change a bit of his offensive looks right now. Probably try to get him not attacking the rim as much with contact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably setting him a bit more off-ball screens, which I, from day one, say I love Fred off the ball when they can set those double staggers on the weak side for him. But, yeah, and I mean, you got to hit shots in the playoffs, and that's Gary Trent Jr. We know he's capable, so hopefully his toe there is going to find a way to continue to – it's hard to heal when you're playing, right? At least maintain at this point. But when you look at the remaining schedule for the Raptors, you have to feel that they've got some opportunity to jump out early and just sustain that within games.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. And I think the Raptors have done what they could for Fred in the moment because he's playing, right? These games are important. He's going to play. But, they're getting other guys to bring the ball up. We've seen Pascal bring the ball up a lot. Scotty bring the ball up a lot. Fred, he's not even trying to bring the ball up just to save him that extra little bit of energy. As you mentioned, they're not driving him as much. Obviously we're putting him more off ball. And I think, look, that's ultimately how the Raptors, especially, right now with these guys limited, that's how they can get their best offense. They have huge advantages in the post, right? Pascal getting downhill against smaller guys, Scotty getting downhill, OG getting downhill. Now that he's back, he can put pressure on the basket too. And I think we saw that yesterday where the Celtics, they like to switch a lot. They like to keep guys in front. And so, okay, then you're going to give up mismatches. And you give up a mismatch to Pascal, he's going to get into the post, he's going to attack. Send a second guy, he's going to kick out. And I think that's probably the best way for them to play, just in general, really. But I think especially right now to limit these, while these guys are limited. And look, listen, I think we've talked long enough without mentioning the officiating. My favorite topic. And wow, I mean, it was a tough one. It was a very, very tough one. Look, I'm just going to ask you a multiple choice question, okay? Because you are a former player, all right? Basically the Liz Cambage of Miami. All right, so let me ask you.
Stop it.
Let me ask you which of the following calls
I've ever gotten in my life. Can I just say that? Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, the Liz Cambage of Miami. Let's get on the broadcast. Let's get Matt Devlin to bring that one up. But
don't you dare.
As a star player, which of the following 4 calls would have drawn a technical foul from you? Okay, I'm just going to read them through right now. All happened last night, by the way. in very important moments. A, chase down block at the rim, huge play. The momentum's going against you. You really needed to stop. You get a chase down block. You pin it against the glass, and you're about to go the other way and break. But the farthest official from the play decides, no, it's a goaltend. And, of course, you knew it was not a goaltend, and your team has to burn a challenge to overturn the goaltend, but ultimately you burn the challenge. That's option A. Option B, you are guarding someone across the screen. The screener bumps into you, a moving screen, and while they bump into you, the person you're chasing flops and dives to the ground, and the officials and this is not on the play, this is not on the ball, but the officials see someone on the ground, they call you for the foul, you foul out. That's your sixth foul with 2 minutes left. That's option B. Option C, 2 seconds left in the game, you collect a steal. You can't really go the full length of the floor because you just stole it in your side of the court. However, you have a timeout, so you call timeout with 2 seconds left, but the officials don't see you. So you don't have a chance to advance the ball, draw the play, and maybe get a shot up. And option D, you chase down an offensive rebound with 2 defenders that you just beat out for that rebound. And while you are trying to find the next pass to reset the offense, a third player clotheslines you, knocks you to the ground, crumples you on the floor, forcing you to throw the ball back in bounds to no one in particular. And that ball on a 50-50 play results in your star player who has 40 points fouling out with 50 seconds left in the game. So it's an A, B, C, or D. Which one would have gotten a tech from you? Because I would have gotten ejected twice. I would have picked up 4 techs.
So the funny thing is, as you were reading those, I literally saw every single one, and it was tough. Some of those were tough. As a player, I think the Thad one was the last one when Thad got tackled off ball out of bounds.
Yep.
And then, that one I was like, whoa, he kind of clotheslined him in front of the official. And that one I was a little bit wow, I was shocked. I think that would bother me, but I don't know. Precious's chase down block was pretty frustrating moment. I didn't run that. I didn't chase down block anyone. I didn't run that fast. So to be honest,
oh no, come on. No, I knew you had ups.
But,
come on, don't understand.
But no, I didn't. Listen, I did not run or jump. But the screen one also, we know how I feel about screens. So they were. I'm gonna answer you, and I'm gonna go ahead and say as a player, one. But as a coach, it definitely 100% would have been the Nick wanting the timeout, because 2 seconds, you can get a really good quality last second shot when it's advanced with 2 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
And when it was tied, right? That was the end of regulation, and that could have potentially been the game. And as a coach, you're frustrated because as an official, you're usually looking for that, right? And the change of possession, you'd be almost looking or listen. Well, I guess in a packed house, it's harder to listen, but you would be looking for that. So I was really, I felt for Nick Nurse on that one. I will say this. Anyone that I spoke to last night or this morning, a lot of people at home, even my own dad was really upset with the inconsistency. It's funny because I think that shows up to the gym and tries to do a good job in whether you're a marketer, your front office, you're a player, you're a coach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You are QB announcing it, you are Amy broadcasting it. You show up to the gym and you try to do your best job every single time, including the officials. And it was frustrating, absolutely. At the same time, when I was working in the WNBA, one of the coaches, it was a season where Liz and a lot of the Brittany Grinders, and they were getting hammered and they weren't getting called. And I asked, and they said, listen, do you know if a coach showed up and never made one mistake, or if a player shows up and they don't make mistakes, what kind of games they have? You know what I mean? Everyone makes mistakes. Every single person comes to a basketball game and makes mistakes. I know you're probably rolling your eyes right now, but these are things that I try to tell myself, coping mechanisms when you get really frustrated.
That's fair enough. That's smart. I like that.
So I think that was a coach talk. So that was probably something maybe this coach in particular was telling themselves. And so, of course, you want to be more focused on especially people that work in the arena, right? You want to just show up and be focused on how you can contribute to be the best. Was it a little bit alarming at this point in the season for that inconsistency? Absolutely. Our guy Jack was not. I thought he was going to get in trouble, man.
No.
I was like, if he
Jack,
not
Jack sounded like me. Jack sounded like me for real.
Going,
like, that's what I sound like every play.
He was going in. I was dying. But he's on a run right now. But I'm kind of dragging on right now. But
he really is.
I'm kind of dragging. Was it frustrating? Absolutely. I think coaches and players, especially, the one thing they do want. Well, two things I would say. When I played, and even when I was a youth sport assistant coach, and an OCAA assistant coach, the two things that I always hoped for from officials were consistency and communication. Because as a coach, when an official's like, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed that," or I'll look for it, like, you can live with that because at least they've acknowledged you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that did or did not happen last night, but
they acknowledged Nick. He got a technical 4 minutes in. That's
what I'm saying. Like, you kind of had a feeling that it was going to be that type of game, it's really starting to feel a bit more like the playoffs in terms of the physicality, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, look, it was a good test. It was a good game. Very good game. Very entertaining. And listen, you're right. Absolutely. Everybody makes mistakes.
Good test for who?
You're right. Everyone makes mistakes, just like how Pascal put up 40 points. Evan Scott had 40 bad calls last night. So, Amy, I appreciate you joining us on this show. We will see you on the broadcast. And keep up the great work. Appreciate you, Amy.
Thanks, Will.
All right, I think that's a good spot for us to take a break. I'm your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to The Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Will Lou. I'm joined in the second segment by Raptors guard Armoni Brooks. Armoni, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. But listen, first off, congratulations are in order. You got the new deal. And I think I speak for every Raptor fan in saying that we're really happy that you decided to stay and the organization decided to keep you on because you have, in your very short time with the team, gained a lot of fans. So congratulations, first off, on that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so walk us through the last month. What's it been like for you? So you joined the Raptors on a 10-day deal on March 6th. Then you get the second 10-day. And then last weekend, they signed you up for the rest of the season with an option for next year. How has your experience been with the organization so far in the last month?
Yeah, it's been really great. Toronto's a great team. The team has a great culture. And I'm really excited to just be a part of an organization that, takes pride in developing their players and, just takes pride in winning every game, going out and competing. The last couple of months, I've been really trying to just, adjust myself to the team, to the coaching staff, and, just the way they do everything around here. And I'm picking up on it really fast, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I wanted to walk through the reaction from when you signed the deal this past weekend. How did you break the news to your family and friends, and sort of what was their reaction to everything?
Yeah. Well,
All right, hold on. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We might try to call you back, if that's all right. Just give us a second, all right? We definitely want to talk to you about you joining the team and everything like that because, to listeners, Armoni joining the Raptors. And look, this came in during a time where, you have to catch a couple of breaks in the season, of course, because, the Raptors obviously suffered injuries to Fred VanVleet. Obviously, the knee thing is continuing to bother him. And Malachi Flynn also went down at the exact same time. So you're really looking at a situation where you needed to bring in a guard, and the Raptors were able to do that, bring in Armoni on a 10-day. And, I think, realistically, the expectations for 10-day players, there's just not as much time to acclimate and contribute, especially to a winning team, right? But I think during that time, I think Armoni really took the most of his opportunity. A lot of these games, they've started him, and he's actually delivered, including that game against Denver on the road. And I'll ask Armoni about that later on. But, it's been really, really important to bring him onto the team. And I think the other thing, too, is just if you've been listening to this show, I've been screaming for a shooter, been screaming and begging for a shooter. And I think that Armoni obviously brings that shooting skill set. So I think it was a good fit. I think the organization liked him, not just for right now. It wasn't just like, hold on, we're down a few guards. We got to send another guard. Who's the first guard available? I don't think it's one of those situations. I think the organization has liked Armoni for a while. In fact, I was speaking with Armoni's agent, just in preparation for the show. And, he told me that the Raptors brought Armoni in, back in 2019, during the time of the draft that year. And Armoni ended up going undrafted. And the Raptors only had the 59th pick. And generally speaking, 59th pick, a lot of players don't even want to be picked at that point. They would rather hit the free agency market. But in any case, the Raptors brought him in to work out back in 2019. They've liked him for a while. They've kept tabs on him. And there's actually been a few very interesting crossroads between Armoni and the Raptors that may not have gone noticed at the time, but it's interesting that he's joined the team. But we have Armoni back on the line as well. Armoni, man, so I was asking you, man, the reaction from your family and friends when you got the deal with the Raptors for the rest of the year and beyond.
Oh, yeah. So, just going through this process is, it can be a really insecure time, just not for yourself, but for your family and friends too, because everyone just wants to know what the next step is. So being able to, just get a little bit of security for the rest of this year and knowing where I'll be at for at least the rest of the season is great for my family. And, it gives them a time to kind of plan around to get up here and come watch a game and, just, really see what the city's like and, feel some security with where I'm at.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'd be great to have them up here. Now, I got to ask you, though, was it a little awkward, though, when reports started flying around that you had signed on Friday? Because if I'm not mistaken, you were playing on Friday, and you were on the court, and then there was a report that started circulating that you had signed for the rest of the season, which I wouldn't have been surprised if you did sign, but I was looking at you on the floor against the Cavs, and I'm like, there's no way this guy's signing a paper. He's playing basketball right now. So was that a little awkward for you? Because it was kind of like premature in terms of like, you signed the deal ultimately on Saturday, but the reports are already flying around Friday. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. My friends that actually sent it to me in our group chat that we have, and they're like, "Bro, did you sign?" I was like, "Bro, I don't know what that is. Like, unless my agent signed something that I have no idea what's going on." But, I told them that I don't know anything yet, and just not to, take that with a grain of salt because I didn't know what was going on.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a joke mostly, but look, with these things, I don't think it's too wise to joke about it. But listen, it's only been a short time with you on the Raptors, but and of course you're new to the league relatively. You played in Houston before this. Like, what have you felt like the differences are between like playing in a Houston versus playing in this environment in Toronto in terms of just what the organization wants from you and expects, and sort of just the values that they're trying to impose right now?
Yeah, coming to Toronto was a big change for me because this was my first time being with an organization, that's really in the playoff mix. And, just the way that they go about everything is so, really professional. And, it's really just spot on with how you could tell that it's a winning culture. And, my time in Houston was great. It was something that I cherished a lot. And, but I'm really excited to see what we can continue to do here in Toronto. I'm still trying to figure out, some of the systems and, the little nuances of what's going on. But so far, I've just been getting in with the coaches, getting extra work in, watching extra film, trying to make sure that I'm catching up on as much as possible. So whenever I get that opportunity to go out there and play, I can make the most out of it.
Yeah, and I think you've done that, man. Because I was thinking back on March 12th, right? Nick Nurse comes to you and tells you you're going to be in the starting lineup against the Denver Nuggets. Second night of a back-to-back in Denver, in altitude, tough opponent, tough game. You've started plenty of times before with Houston, but what was the nerves like for that game? Because obviously that was a huge opportunity for you to impress.
Yeah, it was crazy because I really didn't know until about 10 minutes before the game started. And so,
what?
having to really click.
Hold on, 10 minutes before the game started, they tell you you're starting?
Yeah, Coach, we were having our team meeting, and Coach told me right before our team meeting that I was gonna be starting, so wow. I had to try to flip that switch really fast, and that was my first opportunity to get out there and play, and it was pretty nerve-wracking because you're just trying to go out there and you're not trying to make any mistakes. You're just trying to be as positive an influence on the team as possible. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to just stay solid and just try to help the team win that game.
Yeah, you were. I think it was really important because I think every time the Raptors play Jokic, they always sort of like most teams do, send a double team. They usually have Fred. He's really good at doubling down and digging on the ball in the post. And I thought you were able to replicate that a few times too, which was really nice to see how quickly you were picking up the schemes. And I just wanted to ask you too, so in that game, that Nuggets game, right? Your team ends up closing the game with 5 guys who are all 6'9" at the same time. And it felt really interesting to watch. It was obviously you guys were trying to get the ball out of Jokic's hands, so you guys were fronting him in the post, and you guys were pressuring the entry pass as well, and you guys were switching everything. And it was just I could see the frustration of the Nuggets because they were like, "We'll screen, we'll get the same matchup." And there's another guy who's 6'9", another guy who's 6'9", and I just gotta ask, is this the weirdest team you've been on, just in terms of team construction, the way you guys play and the way you guys are set up?
Yeah, it is. It is something that I've never been a part of a team that that plays 4, 6, 9 guys. But all of our 6'9" guys can play almost every position pretty much. They can be playmakers. They can spot up, knock down shots. They can finish in the paint. They can rebound. They can all defend. So I think it just works with our team and the scheme that Coach Nurse has with that group, and it's really successful for them. And sometimes it can look a little crazy, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, your breakout performance came a little bit later on, I would think. And it's a little bit weird to say breakout, but look, listen, Raptor fans have really appreciated that 3-pointer you hit against Philly on the road. I think it was early in the clock. I think you were a few steps back from the line, but you had all the confidence in the world to take that 3. And that was in the fourth quarter there where you guys were able to close out against the Sixers, another really tough opponent, another really impressive win. And I was looking back at that game. Nick kept his starters on the bench and didn't bring you out until 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So he really was willing to ride with you there. How was that game for you, that Sixer game?
Yeah, that was really like the game that got my confidence going. You know, before the game, I kind of talked to Fred about a couple of things, and he was just telling me to, you know, just lock in and be a shooter. And he was like, "That's what you do, bro." And so, you know, just being able to have an all-star player, you know, give you that confidence is big because, you know, he's been in the league and has been doing it for a really long time. So, you know, he told me to, you know, just not be so hard on myself, not be so tight about everything, and just go out there and do what got me here. And being able to see my three ball go in, you know, in Philadelphia against that great team, and you know, in the moment that it happened, it was big for me and for my personal confidence, and you know, it's just something that I can continue to rock with.
Yeah, well, listen, I was doing some research too because I was, looking at the scouting report when you joined the team, just try to familiarize with, your game. And the thing that stood out to me was like 85% of your NBA shot attempts were from three, right? So clearly that's like what you do. That's the thing you've done really well. I think when you joined the Raptors, there was like a stretch there where like 4 or 5 games in a row, all your attempts were from three, which is again what they brought you in to do. I mean, I wasn't that surprised, I guess, because you do have sniper in your social media handle. But like what impressed me the most has also been your defense and your activity on that end. I think Nick really demands a lot from his guys defensively. So how have you found that adjustment to playing on the defensive end for the Raptors? And how hard have you worked on your defense? Because I was doing some research on your shooting. I think you shot like something like 100,000 threes every summer, right? So that's impressive. But how do your defense? Talk to me about how you found that adjustment for the Raptors.
Yeah, locking in on defense is really just about knowing the personnel and, you know, knowing the different tendencies of the team that you're going against. And Coach Nurse does demand a lot on that side of the ball. And, I've just really tried to make that a big focus for me. And, it also gives you a lot of confidence when you're guarding the ball, knowing that you got 4, 6, 9 guys behind you. Because if you get beat, then it's going to be somebody at the rim to me, most of the time. So it can give you that confidence to be a little more aggressive and, take a little bit more of a risk on that end. And, it's just something that I think that'll be able to help, not just me, but all the guards that are guarding on the ball.
Yeah, and listen, it's not an easy job to play defense on the perimeter, just period. But I think especially for the Raptors, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, Nick wants you guys to be into the ball at all times. So you're not really giving him that extra little step to like, maybe try to contain the drive as much. He really wants you guys to pressure. So there's like less room for error. But I think you've like really filled in. I don't think there's a big drop off with what you've done, which has been really impressive considering the fact that you're just new to the team too. So what have your conversations been like with the coaches in terms of expectations for the rest of the seasons and the playoffs? I know you didn't get into the game last night. It was a real tight one, real frustrating game, especially with the officiating. But yeah, I mean, what's been your conversations like with the coaches, just in terms of your role?
Yeah, just continuing to do what I'm doing. We have a plan for this summer to, develop and expand my game a little bit. But, we don't want to make too many changes right now because of the time of the season and, getting ready to head into the playoffs. So, I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing, keep working hard on the defensive end. I'm working on speeding up my jump shot a little bit because I've heard that in playoff games, people fly at you a little bit harder. And they want me to be prepared for that. So that's something I've been emphasizing at practice. And, just, sticking to what I'm doing right now, playing hard, playing with the team. And, this summer we can really get more into the development side.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think, the Raptors definitely have done a lot of this stuff with a lot of the other players. Obviously, they're really known for their player development. When they bring guys in, they're really invested in sort of what they can do and giving them an opportunity to grow and eventually play and make money in this league. So that's great to hear. And, I think, even just seeing your 3-point skills, I was even watching some of your warm-ups and stuff like that. Like, it seems like you have some real range on that shot, too. Like, it's not just, you got to be two toes on the line kind of thing. Like, I know the Raptors sometimes at practice, they'll tape down like a 4-point line, essentially, like a 3-point line above the 3-point line. And I feel like you could knock down a pretty hefty percentage from that range, too. How much have you, in terms of the work on the 3-point shot, I mean, how much work do you put into that thing? And obviously, even now with you already being a really good 3-point shooter, but as you mentioned, you're trying to speed the thing up too.
Yeah, that's something that we've been emphasizing too, is expanding our range. They talked to me that was something that they did with Fred and how much it helped them just being able to shoot further off the line and getting your shots off. So I've been working on expanding my range and just getting it a little more consistent. That's something that I do every day at practice. And but in terms of how much I work on my 3-point shooting, it's literally every day. And so I go in the gym before I shoot around. I do a couple form shots and then it's straight to the 3-point line. And that's what they want me to do. So that's what we got to do to continue to get consistent and just continue to develop that confidence in it. And it's just gonna continue to put that work in so that I can be the most consistent 3-point shooter I can possibly be.
That's excellent, man. Now listen, I was chatting with your agent, EJ, and he was pointing out that like there's been kind of different parallels between you and the Raptors. Like you've had big moments with the Raptors before even signing on with the team. And I was thinking about this. So you came in for a draft workout with the Raptors in 2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So like, did you basically know even back then, like they had some level of interest in you? They've been keeping, obviously their eyes on you. And I'm not sure, obviously, I think the Raptors only had the 59th pick that year, but there seems to be a little bit of history there. And I think the other thing your agent pointed out was, so you got your deal with Houston this year because you were on the two-way and they signed you to a multi-year deal after, I think, during preseason. And I didn't remember this, but the deal was signed right after you hit 5 threes against the Raptors in preseason. Is that correct too?
Yeah, we played up here during the preseason, and I played in the fourth quarter, and I had 15, all 3-pointers.
Well, I mean, so there's two like crossroads right there, and then the third one obviously was you were in town, slightly west in Mississauga, and you were playing the Raptors 905. And I think you had like 24, you had 7, a couple steals, a couple blocks, and you played really well for the College Park Skyhawks that night. And then like 3 days later, you got the call that the Raptors want to sign you up. Is that also true?
Yeah, that is true. That time it was kind of funny.
So I mean, like you, I guess if you do enough damage to the Raptors, they will eventually call your agent and hit you up. But I think there was a funny story. I think you were telling Amy Audibert about also when you got the call. I think she said something like you were eating ice cream or something like that when you got the call from your agent to sign with the Raptors. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, so I was just out and about in Atlanta, after practice one day. And I just stopped by to get some ice cream before I headed back to my apartment. And I was in line, and my agent called me and was like, "Yo, bro, you got to go pack your bags. You get on a plane tonight." I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about?" So I had to, like, rush home, pack my bags, and I had to be at the airport in, like, an hour and a half. So it was a pretty hectic process, honestly. And but, it paid off, and it's a blessing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, speaking of that, though, there's another really hectic, probably even more hectic story involving your agent calling you to put you on a flight. And this one involves before you started your NBA career. You were on a flight. You were about to hop on a flight to go to New Zealand to play for, I think, 3 months. And on your way there, you got a call from your agent on April Fool's Day. So just talk us through that story because that thing is incredible. I mean, imagine what would happen if you had gone on that flight to New Zealand. Plus, that thing's like 17 hours.
Yeah.
You're probably sure you didn't want to do that, but walk us through that story.
Yeah, so I was I had just landed in LA from my flight from Austin. So obviously, I don't know if you've, played basketball overseas or anything, but just the emotions that go into, saying goodbye to your family and your friends,
right.
Everything that can go into being away for that long and, across the world is, it's a lot in itself. So, the flight from Austin to LA was about three and a half hours. So, as soon as I land, I get a phone call from EJ as I'm walking to the baggage claim, and he's like, "Yo, bro, I think we're about to put you on a flight back to Houston." I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about? Well, I'm not coming back to Houston. I already got a 17-hour flight ahead of me, so I'm not trying to circle back that fast." And then he told me that the Rockets were getting ready to sign me to a two-way, and I honestly thought he was kidding because the timing of everything and like why it happened at that exact moment. It was April Fool's Day, so I told him, I was like, "EJ, bro, do not be playing with me right now. Like, this is not something to joke about.
Yep.
Like, this is not something you play with." And he was like, "No, bro, like, I'm dead serious. Like, well, I'm about to send you some flight information, and you're gonna be on a plane back to Houston within the next hour and a half."
Wow.
And so I'm literally at baggage claim, just crying, telling my family that I'm about to come back to Houston and that I don't got to go to New Zealand. And that, I'm getting my first opportunity to play in the NBA. And, obviously that timing is unbelievable because, 2 hours later, I would have been on a 17-hour flight to New Zealand. And who knows how we would have made that happen.
Yeah.
And, Yeah, it's a crazy story. It's almost something that you could write in a book.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. And you know, seriously, shout out to the because you know, like not only did Houston sign you up, that's you know, that's basically like playing in your hometown because you know you play for University of Houston as well, and you know,
Yeah.
that was a great story, man. And hey, lastly, you probably get asked this all the time, really, but a lot of people don't know, but you're related to Mark Phillips of RDC World. Like, so
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to say this at all to offend you at all, but what's it like being the second most famous player in your family?
No, it's actually funny because, you know, growing up, we talked about, you know, accomplishing our goals together. And, you know, it's just crazy that we can go back and tell these stories and, you know, how we were growing up playing around. And we would make fun of each other because of the dreams that we both had. And it's just crazy to see that we both accomplished what we want to get. And, you know, obviously we both have, you know, higher aspirations of what we want to do and, you know, where we want to go in our careers. But, you know, it's great to be able to have him. You know, he's a great resource for me because, you know, he has his life and, you know, he's been there and done a lot of the things that I'm trying to do. And, you know, he's a great role model for me and I really look up to him. And, you know, I just want to keep chasing my dreams and growing like how he's growing.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Listen, it's so funny because I don't know, I went on like a YouTube, you know, binge kind of streak where I was just watching a whole bunch of RDC World right before, like in this past week, and then my producer tells me, "Yo, we can get Armoni on the show," and I was like, "Damn, it's so funny how the world works." But Armoni, man, listen, thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Congratulations once again on joining the team, and yeah, man, best of luck for the rest of the season and for the playoffs. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate you, my man.
All right, that was Raptors guard Armoni Brooks joining us on the line, and yeah. Seriously, I'm really happy for him. Again, once I heard of that New Zealand story and how close he was to, I mean, who knows, man? You get on that flight, you might not even be in the NBA right now. So I definitely wanted to have him tell that story because his story is really incredible, and I'm really happy he's on the Raptors. And then I'm happy that he made time to speak to us. So that does it for us today. I'm your host, Will Lou. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review our show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. Thanks again to my guests, Amy Audibert and Armoni Brooks, to our board producer, Derek Bandale, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I'll talk to you soon.